Hey guys, it's John and Daryn from Martinis
Hi.
and Murder at Oxygen. John, you look great today.
Thank you, you as well.
But we don't look as good as our guests today,
That's
Kenya
true.
and Eric Johnson. We are so excited to interview them. We're going to be live coverage all day.
Yes.
But we got these two in the hot seat today. I'm so excited to talk to them.
Let's get to it. I love it.
You guys seem like a match made in heaven, being a husband and wife, like prosecutor, defense attorney. Who wins the battles at home?
Ooh, good question.
That's what I want to know. That's the hard-hitting question.
Well, anything relating to our home life,
You're winning.
Obviously.
Pretty much, yeah. That's pretty much the way it goes.
But in the courtroom, who's won more?
I would probably say me. I'm more of a trial attorney. She's more of an administrator right now. She tells people what to do. But
That makes sense.
That fits.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That fits that narrative. How did you two meet?
Yeah.
Well, we actually went to high school together.
Oh, you're high school
But we weren't
sweethearts.
high school sweethearts.
we weren't, okay.
We didn't fall in love until much later.
"Let me clear this up."
Yes.
Yeah.
But we happened to bump into each other, and it was like, wow, you've grown up. So, okay, what do you do now?
You've matured.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what she's saying.
Yeah, we actually met in 7th grade. We've known each other since we were 10.
Wow.
Damn.
Went to school together for 6 years and kept in touch. And then I got a job in Atlanta, and she was living there, and we started talking to each other, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You guys have been in episodes of Snapped, I've heard.
Yes, I
What
have.
episodes have you been in, and what was your experience like with that?
So it was Killer Couples,
Oh,
and
yes.
we did 2 cases, and one was out of Atlanta,
wow.
and so we're out of Atlanta ourselves. So it was a really personal case. I remember when it actually happened. So it was an honor to be able to talk about it and to be on Oxygen, which is one of my favorite networks.
Amazing. We
Us
didn't
too.
tell her to say that.
I know, we didn't pay her. We'll pay you later, though, to say that. You know, I'm curious because on Martinis and Murder, our podcast, we definitely talk about a murder every week, and we cover, crime cases. We're here at CrimeCon. You guys are heavily involved in the criminal justice system. What do you think the biggest misconception of the criminal justice system is right now?
Well, you go ahead, babe.
Well, as a prosecutor, it's that we always are looking for the conviction,
Right.
and that we're just at all costs and are willing to manipulate evidence and misterm and present things that aren't true. That's not true. If I receive information that shows that someone should not be on trial or should not be blamed for it, then we can recalibrate easily and try to find the real suspect. So the ultimate goal is justice, not at all costs, but we want to make sure that we do the right thing.
That's good. What about you? What do you think?
And from a defense attorney, most people believe that we're just a bunch of slick people who are trying to get all the guilty people off. But realistically speaking, a defense attorney is just there to make sure that your rights are protected, to make sure that you have a fair trial and that the state does everything according to the book. I mean, it's not my fault if they caught you on tape, with the
Right.
murder weapon in your hand, standing over the body.
John.
There's only so much I can do at that point.
Yeah, totally.
But the goal is to make sure that, there's no illegal searches, coerced confessions, or anything else like that, and everything is done by the Constitution.
How often do you guys get it right? How often does the criminal justice system, you see a case and you're just like, that was worked through and through as it should be? Most of the time?
And from my opinion, from the prosecution, most of the time, we only want to take those cases that were done right. And when things come up, it happens and we
Right.
have to adjust. Certain crime scene investigators may get in trouble for doing something. We didn't know that in the beginning.
Right.
Or there may be some integrity issues with the crime scene. But we want to take the strongest case. And again, if it seems as if we shouldn't continue to go forward, we don't have to.
From the defense perspective, I think the biggest issue with the criminal justice system now is not necessarily the prosecution, but rather the punishment.
Right.
In the fact that you have a situation where people are being punished disproportionately for doing the same thing. If we were able to get that part of it out of the criminal justice system, I think that everyone would be able to accept the outcome and the results a lot more.
Now, I agree. I actually agree with that.
Oh.
You heard it here
You
first,
two guys are gonna
guys.
stay married.
Make
Just
sure
because of
I
that.
get a copy of this tape so I can
We're
play this
rolling
over
in.
and
We
over
got
again.
Can you ask the control room for the copy?
The control room's gonna get you a copy, your ringtone on your phone.
We'll make that the doorbell as soon as you walk.
You're right. You're right.
Have you guys ever worked the same case on opposite ends? I'm just curious if that's ever been a situation.
The rules of professional conduct will prevent that from happening.
Got it.
Most of the times the situation, because I'm privately hired.
Yeah.
The client picks me. So where she works for the prosecution, they would probably assign it to another prosecutor in that situation.
But trust me, I would fight like
was gonna
tooth
say.
and nail to be right.
I was going to say, it wouldn't even matter the evidence. You're just going to be
Right.
right.
Yes,
You know
yes.
what I mean? That's why he's not going to go against you. I know how this works.
Well, I mean, I got to fight for my client, so at the time, I might be living with my client after
Yeah.
that case.
It's true. Watch out.
You know, I'm curious, in a case, how much is when the verdict happens, how much is it the skill level of you guys, you know, either prosecuting or defending for your client, for the state, whatever it is, versus how effective the jury is in hearing your arguments properly?
You know, juries are fickle in the sense of we make the best arguments that we can and present the evidence, but it may simply lie on the fact that they didn't like his tie, or they didn't like the
Which,
way
by
that
the way,
I
is
questioned.
great today. We should mention.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the way that I questioned a witness. And so it can fall on so many personality traits. That's why there are jury consultants
Yes.
that try to teach you and how to speak to certain jurors. And it's a science behind it because it goes beyond the evidence sometimes.
And I think in that situation, I'll give you an example from my experience. I had a murder trial one time, and after speaking to the jury, afterward, they believed my client may have been shot the victim in self-defense, but they thought that he shot him too many times.
Wow.
So they said that if he had only shot him 7 times, it may have been self-defense, but he wound up shooting him 13.
Are
and
you
that was too much.
kidding?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how people determine that? Like,
That's what was determined on the guy. There's 2 people fighting over a gun, and the guy got shot like 13 times, and they said, well, that just seems too much. You know, he would have failed after that, and he must have shot him some more. But little things like that, I mean, they were up until
Make a big
the number of the
difference.
shots.
Yeah.
Wow.
well,
She's speechless.
I am speechless. You know, we have a little jail cell over there at CrimeCon where you can make your first phone call in jail.
Yeah.
Who would be your first phone call if both of you guys ended up behind bars?
He's like, what are you
I want to
talking
hear
about?
who would be his first call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's going to let him answer first. Eric,
Who would be my first call?
who you calling?
Uh,
Don't call us. We're not going to
Yeah,
help
we're not
you.
going to be able to
no.
help.
Well, I mean, I couldn't call her because she's a prosecutor, so I couldn't call
so
her.
no wife. No
Well,
wife
well,
talk.
hopefully in that situation, I mean, I'm pretty skilled. Hopefully I could talk my way out of it myself.
There you go. That's a good answer.
Confident guy.
Yeah, you know, I represent myself in that situation because I believe in if I'm accused, I believe in my client way more than anybody else.
Listen,
so.
that's a good way to look at that. What about you?
And I actually would call him because not just because I'm the mother of his children and he doesn't know how to cook, but because he's a great defense attorney and I would certainly want him if I was ever in trouble. That's who I would call.
That's smart.
She called me because she know I work for cheap.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Pro bono, right? That's what I think. Right, exactly.
I should
know.
hope so.
One question
That's
I had
amazing.
too. You know, obviously you guys have a lot of heavy stuff to deal with professionally. How do you separate kind of the personal stuff from what your workload is like? Because obviously, as you know, attorneys on different kind of spectrums here, it has to be kind of stressful at times.
It does, and you carry some of the case facts home with you and you sort of think about it. We do have a rule at home that we don't talk about the law over dinner, but
Interesting.
sometimes he'll bounce things off of me and I'll bounce prosecution theories off of him. So it really helps to have a coworker
Yeah.
in your own home, but we've got to cut it off at some point, and that's usually dinner time and around the kids.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Right.
The goal.
Sometimes it happens, right?
It happens.
Your kids must be amazing debaters.
Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah,
very
I
much
feel,
so.
like I can feel like they take you guys for a run for
For a
your
run?
money.
They do. They do.
Probably know more law now than you guys.
Oh, they
We
know
hear you-
quite a bit. My son actually wants to be a defense attorney, and
Wow.
he speaks in cross-examination. When you hear him talk to his friends, you're like, man,
Interesting.
he gets them all the time.
Listen,
You're like,
start them early.
He's
you
like,
know?
Your Honor, and it's like, you're in first grade, dude. Just take it easy when you're talking to your teacher.
Right.
But when he gets in trouble at school, it's like, call my lawyer.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't do that.
I want to be your kids. No, I want this. I want this free get out of jail card.
Yeah.
Are there any cases in history that either one of you wish that you could work on, and you think that your own skill set would have reversed the decision?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the OJ case because that was the case that was going on when I was in law school. And so we
Oh,
debated
wow.
that and we critiqued every bit of it and sort of reenacted certain things. And so I know it's kind of cliche, but actually the OJ case.
Interesting.
That's
Well,
fascinating.
with the same outcome.
Right.
With a different outcome.
Yeah.
With a different outcome.
well, let's see. I think probably maybe as we were talking about earlier, the Rodney King case.
Yeah.
And I would have liked the challenge of trying to get the officers off if the case had stayed in LA. You see, not being transferred to the other county, that would have required a lot of creative lawyering on your part and arguing.
Yeah.
It's something I think would have been very challenging to do, and hopefully I would have won.
Well, both of those cases were huge media spectacles in their own right. What are your perspectives on how true crime has met media since the Rodney King case and since the OJ case? Because here we are at CrimeCon. We have a whole convention for it.
Yeah.
Oxygen is a 24-hour, around-the-clock true crime network. What are your thoughts about how it's impacted reality and actual cases out there right now?
Well, we've got tons more investigators in the world now.
That's true.
And when they see things going on, they're more apt to contact the police to just make note of things.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just interesting. We've got many more crime fighters out there than ever before. So thank you.
It's a good thing, right?
Yeah, we're trying.
Would you agree?
Well, I mean, it's a good thing overall. I think that what it does, it also requires defense attorneys to up their game.
Yeah.
Because with all of the scrutiny and all of the coverage of these trials, people can formulate their own opinions about things.
Right.
So you as an attorney, you have to deal with that in addition to dealing with the jury in itself. The court of public opinion is very great nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
So
sure.
you have to deal with both of those if you're going to be a skilled defense attorney.
Yeah, it almost feels like social media decides before we hear any evidence.
Correct.
Sometimes
Yes.
these days we can be bad because then you can color an opinion really horribly.
Absolutely.
Is this your first CrimeCon?
This is our
Yes,
first and
first one.
hopefully not our last. We're having a
Yes.
great time here.
Yes.
What are you so excited to meet at CrimeCon this year?
Or experience.
Everyone.
What are your
Everyone.
Outside of us, of course.
Of course, you all. This right here, Martinis and murder, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then again, back to the OJ, I've always wanted to meet Chris Darden.
Yes,
and so
he's here,
I'll get to see him later today.
Good
You're
for
not
you.
going to lecture him, are you?
We'll see.
Kenya and Eric Johnson, thank you guys so much for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you for having
this
us.
was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Everyone, please check out more CrimeCon coverage on everything Oxygen, YouTube, Facebook, Oxygen.com, and use the hashtag OxygenCrimeCon.
CrimeCon. Stay
Thanks for
tuned.
watching.